The forbidden rescue the galaxy was silent, but Xylar could hear the sound of trouble. It came through his ships comes a weak, broken distress signal. It was human, and that made it dangerous. In this part of the galaxy, helping a human was the worst crime for his kind, the Noctur. They were vampire-like aliens who lived by strict laws. The oldest law said, never protect a human, never spill alien blood for them, breaking it meant death. Xylar sat in the pilot's chair, staring at the signal details. It was coming from an old prison transport drifting near the edge of the shadow belt. He should have ignored it. Every part of his training told him to stay away, but something deep inside him whispered, go. It wasn't hunger. It wasn't greed. It was something else. Something he didn't understand. He powered up his ship's engines and changed course. The black stars outside stretched into long silver lines as he went into light speed. Minutes later, the prison transport came into view. Its hull was scarred, and lights flickered like dying candles. No other ships were nearby. It was alone, and vulnerable. Xylar's claws tapped against the controls. If he was caught here, his own people would send hunters after him. Still, he docked with the prison ship, his fangs pressing against his lips in tension. He stepped inside, the air thick with the smell of rust and dried blood. Shadows moved along the corridor walls as the emergency lights blinked. Somewhere far inside, he heard a human heartbeat, weak, fading, but alive. The guards were alien mercenaries. Tall and covered in chitin armor, they carried shock rifles, their insect-like eyes scanning the darkness. Xylar moved like smoke, silent and fast. One guard turned, but before he could raise his weapon, Xylar's claws cut through his armor. The body hit the floor without a sound. Two more fell in seconds, their rifles clattering to the metal floor. He reached the prison cell. Inside, a human woman sat against the wall, chains around her wrists. Her skin was pale, her breathing slow. When she saw him, her eyes widened, part fear, part disbelief. Stay away, she whispered, her voice shaking. Xylar tilted his head. I'm not here to harm you, he said, his voice low but steady. Her name was Alara. He learned it as he broke the chains. She could barely stand. So he lifted her in his arms. The ship's alarms suddenly screamed. The remaining guards had found the bodies. Footsteps thundered through the corridors. Z moved fast, carrying Alara back toward his ship. Blaster shots flashed past them, hitting the walls and filling the air with smoke. One bolt grazed his shoulder, burning through his armor, but he didn't slow down. They reached the docking bay just as a group of guards appeared from the other side. With a snarl, Xylar leaped into them, his claws and fangs striking in a blur. When the last guard fell, he carried Alara into his ship and slammed the hatch shut. The engines roared to life, pulling them away from the prison ship and into the black of space. Alara looked at him with tired, searching eyes. You broke your law for me, she said softly. Xylar didn't answer. He only stared at the stars ahead, his mind already knowing the truth. This was no small crime. The Noctur would hunt him. The alien empires would hunt her, and somewhere, deep inside, he knew this was only the beginning. Outside, the comms crackled again. This time, it wasn't a distress call, it was a warning. Attention all sectors. A Noctur named Xylar has committed high treason. Target is armed and dangerous. Kill on sight. The bounty had been set, and the chase had begun. The hunt across the stars. The bounty on Xylar spread through the galaxy like fire in dry grass. Every station, every pirate, every hunter now knew his name. For the Noctur, it was more than betrayal, it was a personal insult. He had broken the oldest law, and they would not rest until his blood floated in the void. Xylar's ship, the Nightfang, flew in dark mode through an asteroid field, engines quiet, lights off, hiding among giant spinning rocks. Alara sat strapped in the co-pilot's seat, still weak from her injuries. She watched the scanner screen, her eyes catching small blips that came and went. Are they still after us? She asked, her voice low. Xylar's jaw tightened. They will never stop. Behind them, a Noctur kill squad entered the field, their ship sleek and silent. These were not common hunters, they were elite assassins trained to kill their own kind. Xylar knew their tactics. They would circle, wait for him to make a mistake, then strike without warning. He steered the ship between two massive asteroids. One rock spun slowly, blocking the squad's sensors for a few seconds. In that moment, Xylar pushed the engines to full power and darted away. The squad followed, but he used a gravity well from a dead moon to sling them out of formation. For now, they had lost him, but only for now. Days passed in constant movement. They hid in the rings of ice worlds, inside wrecked battlecruisers, even in the underbelly of outlaw stations, everywhere they went. Whispers followed, the Noctur traitor, the human girl, the bounty worth a fortune. Xylar stayed alert, his claws never far from his weapons. Alara learned to move silently, to hide in shadows, to read danger in the air. One night, while docked at an abandoned fuel station drifting near a red dwarf star, Xylar finally asked, "Why do they want you so badly?" Alara hesitated, then opened a small data crystal hidden inside her jacket. "This," she said, "is the reason." She placed it on the console, and a hologram flickered to life. Images of alien leaders, secret meetings, and data logs, showing experiments on human captives. "They nearly wiped us out," she whispered. "And they're planning to finish the job." Xylar's eyes narrowed. Among the files was something else, proof that the Noctur leaders had traded human lives for power. His blood boiled. He remembered the story of his parents, how they had sheltered a human child once. The council had executed them for it. Now, seeing the truth in front of him, Xylar understood why they had risked everything. Before he could speak, the ship's alarms blared. A massive shadow passed over the station, a bounty hunter cruiser, bigger than 10 of his ships combined. Its loudspeaker boomed. "Surrender the human and we will let you live." Noctur. Xylar looked at Alara, her hands clenched into fists. "We run," she said. The cruiser's cannons fired, shattering the fuel station into burning debris. Xylar spun the Nightfang through the wreckage, dodging fire and using the explosions as cover. He dived toward the gravity pull of the red dwarf, skimming dangerously, close to the star's corona. The hunter's ship followed, but the heat began to tear at its hull. With a sharp maneuver, Xylar flipped his ship, fired all weapons at once, and crippled the cruiser's engines. It drifted helplessly into the star, swallowed in a blinding flash. Breathing hard, Xylar pulled them back into deep space. Alara touched the data crystal. "You could have left me," she said quietly, "and they would stop hunting you." Xylar didn't look at her. "They won't stop," he said, "not for me, not for you, not for any human." His voice was cold, but his hands on the controls were steady. The chase would only grow deadlier from here. And somewhere ahead, the Noctur kill squad was waiting. Asterisk. The last stand the galaxy was closing in on them. The Noctur kill squad had tracked them through 3 star systems. Xylar knew they were running out of safe places. The only chance left was to reach the outpost of Echoes, an old rebel base, hidden in the orbit of a dying star. If they could transmit Xylar's data from there, the whole galaxy would know the truth. But the kill squad got there first. As the Nightfang dropped out of hyperspace, warning lights flashed. 6 sleek black Noctur ships surrounded them, their weapons glowing with deadly light. A cold voice came over the comms. "Xylar of Noctur, surrender the human and die quickly, or resist and die slowly." Xylar's claws gripped the controls. He glanced at Alara, who clutched the data crystal to her chest. "We don't have long," he said. "When I open a path, you run to the outpost and send the signal." She shook her head. "Not without you." But the steel in his eyes told her there was no time for arguments. The battle began in a flash of fire. Xylar's ship spun and weaved, dodging bursts of plasma. He fired back, taking out one of the enemy ships in a burning explosion, but the rest closed in fast, their combined fire tearing into his hull. Sparks rained from the ceiling as alarms screamed. He aimed straight for the largest kill squad ship. At the last moment, he veered away, forcing 2 others to collide in a shower of debris. The impact rocked the battlefield, giving Xylar just enough time to dock at the outpost of Echoes. Inside, the station was dark and silent, the air thin and cold. They ran through the narrow halls, boots echoing against the metal floor. The kill squad followed, their footsteps, a steady, deadly rhythm behind them. Xylar reached the control room and sealed the door. "Alara, upload it now," he shouted. She slammed the crystal into the terminal, fingers flying across the keys. The screen lit up with lines of code and bursts of encrypted data. "Signal locked." "Transmitting," she said, her voice shaking. The door shook as the kill squad began cutting through. Xylar drew his blades, the metal glinting in the dim light. "Stay behind me," he said, his fangs bared. The door burst open, and the fight was instant, claws against claws, steel against steel. Xylar moved like shadow and lightning, striking with fury and precision, but there were too many, and they began to push him back. One of the assassins lunged at Alara, but Xylar intercepted, taking the blow meant for her. The blade went deep into his side, black blood spilling onto the floor. He roared, tearing the assassin apart, but the wound slowed him. "Alara, go," he shouted. The data upload reached its final line. Transmission complete. She grabbed his arm. We can still make it together. He shook his head, pressing the door control, sealing her out of the room. Through the glass, she saw him turn to face the remaining enemies. His lips moved. She could almost read the words, "Live for both of us." She ran to the hangar, launching in the escape pod. Through the viewport, she saw the outpost of Echoes shudder under heavy fire. A blinding explosion lit the dying star's horizon, swallowing the station and everyone inside. Her hands trembled, tears blurring her vision. But the comms came alive, hundreds of voices, from across the galaxy, some angry, some shocked, some calling for rebellion. The truth was out. Xylar's sacrifice had lit a fire that could not be put out. Alara whispered into the silence of the pod. "They will remember you." Far behind her, in the darkness of the dying star's orbit, a faint signal blinked once and then was gone.